I've been a wild rover for many long years, and I spent all my money on wine, ale and beer. But now I'm returning, put my money in store, and ne'er will I play the wild rover no more. No, nay, never. Never no more, ne'er will I play the wild rover no more. I went into an alehouse I used to frequent, and I told the landlady me money was all spent. I called for a pint, but she answered me nay. For custom like yours I can get any day. No, nay, never, never no more. Ne'er will I play the wild rover no more. I took from my pocket hands full of gold, and onto the table they glittered and rolled. She says I have whiskey and fine wines and all. Said, begone, landlady, I'll have none at all. No, nay, never, never no more. Ne'er will I play the wild rover no more. I'll go home to my parents, tell them what I've done, and I'll ask them to pardon their prodigal son. And should they forgive me, as oft times before, then ne'er will I play the wild rover no more. No, nay, never, never no more. Ne'er will I play the wild rover no more. The Wild Rover, Norfolk style. Well, today is Norfolk Day. For the past few years, it's been a celebration this time of the year of Norfolk Day. And the past couple of years I've been playing on the Albatross ship, which is no longer owned by the same people. That lovely fella Tom, he doesn't own it anymore, so therefore there's no music and it's closed down. He lost it earlier in the year, which was devastating. So that went, and then the COVID thing strikes, so there's no gigs for me. So, but I'm not fussed. Quite happy sitting at home doing nothing. Anyway, happy Norfolk Day. So I'm going to be celebrating Norfolk with a few songs. That first one, The Wild Rover, was a big hit for the Dubliners, and everybody thinks it was an Irish song, as this next one is. But they were first found in Norfolk. That one, The Wild Rover, by a singer called Sam Larner, who was a Winterton fisherman, and he also sang this one. And when Julie and I got married in Norfolk, the photographer was really surprised that even though we were quite mature people, that there was only two sets of parents. There was no stepfathers or ex-wives or other separate families. So marriage is quite a complicated thing in Norfolk for a great many people. Thankfully not us. And this is called Never Wed an Old Man. It's a warning for the young ladies never to get involved with old men. And again, it was a big hit for the Dubliners. An old man came courting me, hey ding doo da. An old man came courting me, me being young. An old man came courting me, asking to marry me. Maids, when you're young, never wed an old man. 'Cause he's got no fallurum for little I-urum. Got no fallurum for little I-ay. He's got no fallurum, he's lost his ding-durum. Maids, when you're young, never wed an old man. When we went to church, hating Durham da. When we went to church, me being young. When we went to church, he left me in the lurch. Maids, when you're young, never wed an old man. 'Cause he's got no falloorum for little Iram. Got no falloorum for little I. He's got no falloorum, he's lost his ding Durham da. Maids, when you're young, never wed an old man. When we went to bed, hating Durham da. When we went to bed, me being young. When we went to bed, he neither did nor said. Maids, when you're young, never wed an old man. 'Cause he's got no falloorum for little Iram. Got no falloorum for little I. He's got no falloorum, he's lost his thing Durham da. Maids, when you're young, never wed an old man. I threw me leg over him, hating Durham da. Just to oblige him, me being young. Well, I flung me leg over him, damn well near smothered him. Maids, when you're young, never wed an old man. 'Cause he's got no falloorum for little Iram. Got no falloorum for little I. He's got no falloorum, he's lost his ding Durham. Maids, when you're young, never wed an old man. Now the moral of the story is, in the last verse, when he went to sleep, hating Durham da. When he went to sleep, me being young. When he went to sleep, out of bed I did creep into the arms of a handsome young man. And he found my falloorum for little Iram. Found my falloorum for little I. He found my falloorum, I got his ding Durham da. Maids, when you're young, never wed an old man. Never wed an old man, another big hit for the Dubliners. And there's another one that was a big hit for them, but I'll play that a little bit later. There was kind of 3 or 4 big folk singers in Norfolk. They were all sort of farm labourers, fishermen, and most notably, my favourite was Sam Larner, who recorded those 2 songs. And there was another one which the real folk purists love, called Harry Cox. And I think the reason the folk purists really love him is the way he sings. It's without any expression at all, and it's very, very strange to listen to, but fascinating. This let's do one of his songs now, which is a song called "A Week's Matrimony." It's one of the darkest songs I've ever heard, and I've actually done a punk version with my Norfolk punk band, the Punk Focus. But here's how this is an abridged version of the original, because there's so many verses, and I'll have difficulty enough remembering "A Week's Matrimony" as it is, and it's a story of a regular Norfolk wedding, really. On Sunday night I went out on a spree. I met a maiden as fair as can be. We walked about from place to place. She praised my wit and I praised her face. So we agreed as quick as thought, I a ring and then license bought. We got married all right and tight, married with joy upon Monday night. Rifle to relight, oh, rifle to relight, oh, rifle to relay. Tuesday morning a man did call. He was handsome, well dressed and tall. He slipped her a kiss all on the sly, and I could hardly believe me eyes. I went for him and this caused alarm. He tried to tell me I done no harm. I punched him hard for being so bold, made my wife sleep outside in the cold. Rifle to relied, oh, rifle to relied, oh, rifle to relay. Wednesday morning my wife looked blue. She was cross and snappish too. Very soon vexation rose. First came a boos and then the blows. So to the pub I did pop, and after a couple I couldn't stop. I got drunk and I wanted to fight, so jealous was I upon Thursday night. Rifle to relied, oh, rifle to relied, oh, rifle to relay. I found me wife with a piece of line around her neck she had tied. To a nail she'd fixed it tight and strangled herself upon Friday night. Rifle to relied, oh, rifle to relied, oh, rifle to relay. Saturday morning, safe and sound, I went and bought her a piece of ground. Saw her into the coffin all right, was single again upon Saturday night. Sunday came with dark arrays, they came to carry her corpse away. The undertaker carried it out, and her relations they moped about. Her relations cried themselves almost blind. I hid me face and I laughed behind. Saw her into the grave all right, made love to another on Sunday night. Rifle to relied, oh, rifle to relied, oh, rifle to relay. A week's matrimony. Norfolk has been very, very good to me over the years. I moved up here in about 1989, somewhere way back, and I didn't even really know what folk music was. I thought it was Bob Dylan and Leonard Cohen. But in the early noughties, I joined a folk band. I was working after leaving college. I was working to pay off my overdraft, and I met an Irishman. I had an Irish boss who said who played the guitar, and he said, "Oh, you should learn some Irish songs." So I did, and never looked back. And then I joined a Ceilidh band that played traditional Norfolk, a lot of traditional Norfolk tunes, and working with a chap called Chris Holderness, who was a mind of information, and he told me that a lot of the traditional Norfolk tunes were used by Irish bands and adopted as Irish songs and stuff. And you do hear it in the Norfolk traditional music. Then when I started releasing records, a good friend of mine, Brian Whelan, who does the fantastic artwork for my record sleeves, he was commissioned by Norwich Cathedral to do a series of paintings on Edith Cavell, and suggested I write something musically to do it. And I'd like to sing you a couple of those songs. I wanted to keep it quite traditional when I wrote these, because there wasn't guitars during the First World War, and it worked. I had my good friend Percy Paradise write a few concertina parts to link the songs. I'd like to start with the first one, which is Edith Louisa Cavell, for which you have to, like in a week's Never Wed an Old Man, you have to imagine I'm a pretty young lady. This time, that pretty young lady is Edith Cavell. Now the ice it is slowly melting on the lake near our chapel grounds, while yesterday I was skating and the wind was the only sound. My faith in God will guide the way, the truth to you I tell. I will honour the name that was given to me, Edith Louisa Covell. When the blooms are all wide open and the birds sing in the trees, I will paint and I'll draw their beauty and bathe in the warm summer breeze. My faith in God will guide the way, the truth to you I tell. I will honour the name that was given to me, Edith Louisa Covell. And when I was about to perform that at the Cathedral live on BBC Radio 4, the chief of the church said, when I was working on it, he sort of said, "Oh, could you alter the chorus somehow, because it's not quite Christian enough. They didn't like my generic God, you see." So I had to change it to, my faith in God will guide the way, the truth to you I tell, and Jesus Christ is the light for Edith Louisa Covell. So they were happy with that. Anyway, that's the opening track of a 5-track CD that I released in 2015, and this is the closing track, and it's called and title track is called Patriotism Is Not Enough. Millions marched away to war for country and for God. Cannon fodder off to war to perish in the mud. Impartial nurses treated all, 'cause pain does not pick a side. But when 2 young men were facing death, Edith them did hide. Soon she joined the underground and hid 200 more. Allied soldiers got away, then a knock came at the door. Arrested and locked away, all she did confess. They charged Edith with treason and sentenced her to death. Well, as she stood in view of God and eternity, she realised it's not enough a patriot for to be. No bitterness or hatred should be aimed at anyone. Oh, her bravery and dignity and faith were very strong. Patriotism is not enough. Shortly after I released Edith Cavell, I was simultaneously working on Boudicca's Country, an album with lyrics by a local poet. And I kind of gained a reputation for sort of historical ballads. And just very recently, a good friend of mine in Dereham approached me and asked me to perform a ballad about a man called John Crask, who lived in town I live in East Dereham, and grew up fishing in Sheringham. And there is a video, a really nice professionally shot video of this, but I'm going to just do a little live version for this. This is called The Ballad of John Crask. John Crask was a fisherman, he grew up by the sea. He'd sail out with his father to bring fish home for tea. He was born in Sheringham and with his brothers too, he'd sail out in all weathers to fish the briny blue. His parents, they moved inland to East Dereham market town and opened up a fish shop and delivered all around. John did the deliveries, long hours he would toil to keep supplying fish to those on local Norfolk soil. For years it was the life he had, but on Sunday you would see him singing hymns in the marketplace where he met his wife to be. But at the age of 36 he was called away to war, and wife Laura was left behind. Would she see him anymore? Influenza brought him home quite soon, but he'd lost his mind, they say, having bouts of stupors and no memories day to day. Laura cared so tenderly when John started to draw. She gave him wools and coloured threads to occupy him more. His pictures, they were all of boats. Oh, he must have missed the sea. Dr. Digan, he suggested John should do embroidery. Laura took John to the coast and those views across the bay. In the paintings that he made with thread are admired to this day. John Cross, he was a fisherman, oh how he loved the sea. The war could not quell his passion and he drew a legacy. A fisherman, a sailor and an artist to the end. With Laura right beside him, his wife and his best friend. John Cross, he was a fisherman, he grew up by the sea. He'd battle with the tides to bring fish home for tea. For he was born in Sheringham and with his brothers too. He'd sail out in all weathers to fish the briny blue. Ballad of John Crask. Yeah, there was a lot of fishing, and people come from all over the world, but a lot from Ireland and Scotland, and all these songs came to Ireland for the herring fishing. And one of the places these fishermen would frequent for a good night out was Yarmouth, and it was a famous red light district. You know, this is a song again with an Irish connection. I found it by the first time I heard it, it was by Planksty, like the Irish supergroup, Irish traditional folk supergroup, Christy Moore and Andy Irvine. And I actually went to see Andy Irvine live a couple of times. But the first time I went, I asked him would he sing it, and he said no, it's not very politically correct these days. So, but I still love the song. It's a great song. I think it was originally by Peter Bellamy. I've heard a proper Norfolk version by a man called Peter Bellamy. I'm not sure whether Peter Bellamy wrote it or not. I think Peter Bellamy was a very influential Norfolk traditional singer who wrote a lot of stuff but wanted it absorbed into the tradition, so he didn't copyright it or lay claim to it. So, and this is another saucy little number called Yarmouth Town. In Yarmouth Town there lived a man, kept a little tavern down by the Strand. He also had a daughter fair, lovely looking lass with golden hair. So won't you come down, won't you come down, won't you come down to Yarmouth Town? Oh, won't you come down? Won't you come down? Won't you come down to Yarmouth Town? One night there came a sailor man. He asked the daughter for her hand. Why should I marry you? She said, I've got all I want without being wed. So won't you come down? Won't you come down? Won't you come down to Yarmouth Town? Won't you come down? Won't you come down? Won't you come down to Yarmouth Town? But if it's with me that you'd like to linger, I'll tie a piece of string all around my finger. So when you pass by, just pull on the string. I'll come down and I'll let you in. Now won't you come down? Won't you come down? Won't you come down to Yarmouth Town? Now won't you come down? Won't you come down? Won't you come down to Yarmouth Town? So after closing time, the sailor man, he went to the tavern down by the strand. And as he passed by, he pulled on her string. She came down and she started to sing. Now won't you come down? Won't you come down? Won't you come down to Yarmouth Town? Now won't you come down? Won't you come down? Won't you come down to Yarmouth Town? Well, he'd never seen such a sight before, because the string around her finger was all she wore. The sailor stayed the whole night through. The very next night went back to his crew. Ah, won't you come down? Won't you come down? Won't you come down to Yarmouth Town? Ah, won't you come down? Won't you come down? Won't you come down to Yarmouth Town? News of this lass soon got around. The very next night in Yarmouth Town, there were 15 sailors pulling on a string. She came down and she let them all in. Now won't you come down? Won't you come down? Won't you come down to Yarmouth Town? Won't you come down? Won't you come down? Won't you come down to Yarmouth Town? So if into Yarmouth you should go and see a pretty girl with her hair hanging low, all you gotta do is pull on a string. She came to let you in. Now won't you come down? Won't you come down? Won't you come down to Yarmouth Town? Now won't you come down? Won't you come down? Won't you come down to Yarmouth Town? Yarmouth Town. Yeah, Peter Bellamy was kind of, he set the standard for traditional folk singing, and he set the standard quite high because he had a fantastic vibrato in his voice, and you still go to folk clubs now and hear people sort of impersonating him, really. And that last song and this one have both been recorded by the sort of the BBC's answer to the folk scene is Bellowhead. If the BBC want to hear a folk band, oh, let's go Bellowhead. That's their default button. It says Bellowhead. But anyway, this is Faking and Fair. Another song that's supposed to be traditional, but it's believed that Peter Bellamy, not David Bellamy, wonderful. Peter Bellamy wrote it. Now, Fakenham's just the next town along, really, and it's a great place. Well, it was before COVID, anyway. But yeah, got a lot of friends in Fakenham, and I do love them, and I missed them during this period. And yeah, so Fakenham Fair. Well, I never really fell in love till I went up to Fakenham Fair, where I spied a carnival girl selling the chances there. Well, I tried for a lamp or a Spanish shawl or a golden filigree, when all the while her eyes were saying, come take a chance on me. So swing around the merry-go-round, give the wheel Fakenham's Fair is that pretty carnival girl. Well, her eyes were blue, and her hair was brown, and her lips they were soft and red, and a shape like hers, well, I'd never seen. My eyes near popped out of my head. Though I was young and innocent, still even I could see that the way she smiled and winked my way said, come take a chance on me. So swing around the merry-go-round, give the wheel of fortune a whirl, for the finest prize, Fakenham Fair, is that pretty carnival girl. Some were saying, she ain't for you, boy, what will the people think? But I took my chance and I won that girl just as quick as an eye could wink. And the very best day in all of my life, in whatever comes to pass, was the day that I went up to Fakenham Fair. And I won that carnival lass. So swing around the merry-go-round, give the wheel of fortune a whirl, for the finest prize at Fakenham Fair, that pretty carnival girl. Bellowhead didn't do that coughing bit at the end. Strangely enough, neither did Peter Bellamy. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little group of songs and bit of silly stories. I'd like to finish with another really famous song that everybody... Well, I'm sure it is Irish, but it was first found in Norfolk, and it's the Black Velvet Band. But even the Norfolk version, which again was by Harry Cox, was set in Belfast. It still starts in a neat little town they call Belfast. So, and when I first heard Luke Kelly, the Dubliners, singing this, who is responsible for taking these songs and making them what they were, because he sort of worked and learnt about folk music through Ewan MacColl, who was the man who came up the east coast of England and recorded all these traditional singers. Well, there was lots of others, but Ewan MacColl, I think, was responsible for a lot of them anyway. If you've ever heard the song The Shoals of Herring, if you haven't, look it up, by Ewan MacColl or the Dubliners again, and that's a song written by Ewan MacColl, but it's the life story of Sam Larner, the fisherman, because they interviewed him for several days. It was 3 days worth of interviewing recordings, and Ewan MacColl listened through and took lines out and built that song from it's a fantastic song, sir. Shoals of Herring, look it up. I would play it, but it's very long and I haven't rehearsed any of this. You might have guessed, might be obvious. But anyway, back to the song that made me want to be a folk singer in the first place, the Black Velvet Band. In a neat little town they call Belfast, apprentice to trade I was bound. Oh, and many's the hour, sweet happiness did I spend in that neat little town, till a sad misfortune came over me, which caused me to stray from the land, far away from me friends and relations, betrayed by a black velvet band. Her eyes, they shone like diamonds, I thought her the queen of the land, and her hair hung over her shoulder, tied up with a black velvet band. Well, I took a stroll with this pretty fair maid, and a gentleman had to pass by. Oh, I knew that it meant the doing of him by the look in her roguish dark eyes. A gold watch she took from his pocket, and she placed it right into my hand. And the very next thing that she said was, "Basesti, a black velvet band." Her eyes, she shone like diamonds. I thought her the queen of the land. And her hair, it hung over her shoulder, tied up with a black velvet band. Well, before the judge and the jury, the next day I was forced to appear. And the judge, he said to me, "Young man, your case is abundantly clear. Well, I'll give you 7 years penal servitude to spend far away from the land, far away from your friends and relations, and away from the black velvet band." Her eyes, they shone like diamonds. I thought her the queen of the land. And her hair, it hung over her shoulder, tied up with a black velvet band. Again, a bit of a short version, but you get the idea. Well, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you have a fantastic Norfolk day. What it's about, I don't really know, but I wore the Norfolk colours, Norfolk black, white and yellow. So, even though the albatross has gone, COVID-19 still didn't stop me celebrating Norfolk Day. All the best. See you again, I hope. Bye.